Good morning, Baruch.
Did you just get a line? Who wants to know? Chico Marshall. In that case, yes, I just did, yes. Okay. Okay, I'm going on mute. No comment. Great.
Excuse me.
Rabbi Paltiel?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so while you're getting ready, I have a question about Friday's share, okay?
Yep.
This last piece about Rosh Hashuv, there was some question or discussion, and you were distinguishing between Av Tainugim and the Rotsu that's the Teikif Gadol.
That's Reimamus.
Kind of Reimamus, right? Kind of Rotsu from Reimamus. In other words, Av Tainugim doesn't have what to do with this Rotsu with Reimamus? I thought that they were connected somehow, not?
No. They are. Our Tanugim is due to Kiruv, not Reimamus.
So is it that by Reimamus you still aren't there, but by Av Tainugim you are there? Is that it?
In the Reimamus altogether, the Timoin in Reimamus is towards Atzmus Ho'er. It's not even anything that can be, so to speak, processed. He wants the Reimamus itself. That's an infant Atzmus.
It is actually higher than Av Tainugim.
Well, it depends. The Madrege he is seeking to relate to is higher. Whether it is higher in Kochas HaNefesh, that is very relative.
Whether it's higher in what? Your voice is a little bit fading away from the phone. So.
Whether it's higher in Kochas HaNefesh.
It's reaching for something higher, you're saying?
Right.
Av Tainugim is not reaching so high?
We spoke one time Seichel versus Midos. Seichel is much higher than Midos. But in terms of the purification of the person, Midos is where the purification is through and through. In Avos Hashem, there is a greater unity with Elokus than in Haskalas Elokus.
So it's difficult to hear you. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure why. So you're saying Av Tainugim is more
I think he says hard to hear.
Reimamus, this is a Seichel thing.
Yeah, it's his bonus. That's a speaker.
Yeah.
So maybe you could put the phone closer to where you are, Paltiel. We are having a little trouble hearing you on the conference.
How is it now?
That's better.
Okay, so maybe I should put the phone in a certain position. All right. I'm trying to kind of pin down the spot where we should start. Okay, I want to go back slightly. I want to start in the line that begins with Chinas Tekev Hatzimoyin. This is 9 lines from the bottom. And Tesvov. At the end of that line, here he is in the middle of explaining where is the shuv come in when the rotzu is to the atzmus element.
We're still having trouble hearing on this conference line.
I can call on this phone if you
Or
want.
we are putting on another phone.
I can tell you. Yeah. I'm gonna have to call you back. We have to use these phones. I'll call you back.
Okay. So the question here is, where is the okay, until you put it. Where is the shuv come in when there's the rotzu is to etzem, and he explains that actually there the rotzu, the shuv is due to the element of bittul. When he completely disregarded, shuv is not to satisfy himself, to satisfy his tzimoy. On the contrary, this it comes with bittul, and the bittul is okay. And the bittul is it better now? And the bittul is the mitzad the kavona that is in atzmas. When there is bittul, and he is putting himself aside now, but in terms of his personal pursuit, and he is looking to the etzem, to the etzem itself. There he sees that that the main thing is to relate to the kavona elikis, and the kavona elikis is in the shuv, in Teiro mitzvahs, and this is how the shuv surfaces in this level of rotz. When the rotz is mishad horeimamus, and that directs him towards etzem, atzmus. When we've talked about when the rotzu is mitzad, is an element of ahava, an element of closeness. So the shuv is simply the satisfying of his thirst, because in the rotzu there is not the satisfying of the thirst. The thirst is satisfied only when Elokus comes to him, as we explained then. But here, this is not in him that he is looking to recognize and to appreciate Elokus, but he is looking to Etzem. Etzem does not have any appreciation. Etzem is the principle of the truth Elokus itself. So then there is no resultant shuv. The shuv is there only mitzad bittul anochas atzmus, that he recognizes what the kavona elikis is. This is how atzmus is reflected in the world, mitzad kavona elikis. And now at the end of this line, the be'emes, where in truth, what the Rebbe is explaining now, is going to explain now, is that this inyan, the kavona elikis, the shuv, that is related to recognizing the kavona elikis, this is not something that one recognizes independently to his rotzah. There is a correlationship there. And this is why it's called Rotzu V'Shuv. Rotzu V'Shuv means that the Rotzu results in the Shuv, and the Shuv results in the Rotzu. And we explained earlier, right in the beginning, that there are two different ways. One causes the Shuv, one results in the Shuv, but there is some kind of a procedural relationship. So, but here we're saying the Rotzu is to Atzmus. The for Kavon Elikis is something else. Kavon Elikis is not what he is seeking. Kavon Elikis is what the Rebbe wants from him. So it's two different perceptions completely. In what way are we saying that this is Rotzu V'Shuv, that there is some kind of a correlationship? And this is what the Rebbe is explaining now. The Be'emes, because in truth, Kasher Horotzu Hu B'Bchinas Atzmus Ein Soy Baruhu, that when the Rotzu is in this element of Atzmus Ein Soy, not anything of Giluyim Oyer, but Atzmus Haresham Mushrash Amitis HaKavon. But then there in Atzmus is rooted Amitis HaKavon, the true Kavon. And what is the true Kavon? Li is B'Bchinas Shuv. That there should be the Inyan of Shuv. In other words, when one actually reaches into the Atzmus, then one begins to recognize where Atzmus is. Musha Shamitis HaKavon. This is where the true Kavon is to be found. These are not two separate inyanim. In Atzmus, it's found the Amitis HaKavon. Li is B'Bchinas Shuv. That there should be B'Bchinas Shuv. Rak shetzorich li is lozeh habitl hadochas Atzmus. Except that in order to identify with this Amitis HaKavono, there has to be the bittul hanochas Atzmus. Because Amitis HaKavono means, this is why I went back because I want to be sure to understand this. Amitis HaKavono means that I'm not pursuing anything. I'm not interested in terms of what I am interested, but what Atzmus is interested. Das mit Amitis HaKavon. This is where this Rotzu brings to this Shuv. Amitis HaKavon, that's not his thing. That's the Meibash's thing. That's Mitzad Maila, Mitzad Atzmus. How does he become interested in Amitis HaKavon? Why should he give his personal satisfaction, his personal interest? Why should he give it up mitzad Amitis HaKavon? We understand the inyan from Kabbalah and so forth, but how does it reflect? Is it reflected in Avodah? In Avodah means that this is a pnimisiki inyan. This is not something which I say, oh, you say, okay, I'll do it. There's a personal relationship to it. Where's the personal relationship? Personal relationship is that when he identified with Atzmus and he saw that this is the only thing that's really worth pursuing, and the more he relates to it, the more he pursues it, the more he finds that the way to pursue it is through Amitis HaKavon. And here, we need to understand the following principle. This pursuit of Atzmus, pursuit of Kirub, all the inyan from Aveda of Rotzu V'Shuv. Where is the initial beginning of that? What starts it off?
What starts off what? The
the whole process of Avodah. and I'll explain the principle here. Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. And in this creation, as a result, there is cheshach and there is Iyar, and there's a relationship and a mitzvahs and Torah mitzvahs and all of that. Who initiated the whole process? The initiation of the whole process is milmayla. Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. There's a medrash that says that that really the highest in the world and the oinig and rotzen that exists in the world, this is inside the Mevash. This is the rotzen eliki, milmayla. Of course, there is, as we said, a rotzen b'shut, that he wants a lakus, he wants this, he wants that. But that's not where the initial impetus begins. The initial impetus begins milmayla. This is what Chassidus explains in general, that there is a sarusa de la sata, a sarusa de la eila. There's the process sarusa de la eila, they are awakening from the low, and then it reaches up. There's a response milmayla, and so forth. There's two different processes. That which begins milmayla, begins milmata, but ultimately, any process really begins mitzad esalusha milmayla. Mitzad milmayla. Any process begins mitzad milmayla. There's an element that the Eibusha provides for this service. There's much to speak about it, and let me just see if this will be sufficient. So, this Indian that he becomes nisoyer and he wants atzmos. What's in your atzmos? It's wonderful. Where does he get that whole idea from? He gets his whole idea because atzmos made itself known to him. Otherwise, there would be no possibility of him ever identifying with it. This is similar to what we mentioned many times, what the Gemara says, that the beginning of Seichel, the beginning of Gili HaSeichel, the reading Seichel, begins when the child eats, partakes of dogo, of a certain type of food, a certain taste. And what is the relationship between that taste and Seichel? This is what triggers it, what arouses it. In the world there is an atzmos, an atzmos. And this is what's provided in Milo. And because of that, there is a possibility that there is to be a rotzu that identifies with the Roimus Olakus, and ultimately he wants the etzem. Because etzem is not something that the seichel can comprehend. If the pursuit of the etzem is initiated milmata mitzad the seichel, then it is not real. Then it's what we call an imaginary pursuit. And then, as a matter of fact, it reverts back, it turns into klipa. There is a saying from Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek was in a period of the Kantonisten. Everybody was Kantonisten now. And San Nikolai, who was a vicious, a sadistic king, to take children away from their parents for 25 years. So the Tzemach Tzedek expressed himself about this Nikolai, and he said he forgot that he was a Nivra. He forgot that he was created. He usurped. He went beyond being had been created. He doesn't have a beginning.
Pharaoh.
Huh?
Pharaoh did the same thing. Pharaoh. Same Indian, no?
That's a common conception nowadays.
Don't have to be a dictator.
Yeah. Professor.
Yeah. Well, nowadays it is self-creating, but then he doesn't. Then the other one is also self-creating. Then he has nothing, no rule over the other one. Here there was from a different perspective. All pursuits, all interests begin from the initial recognition and deep recognition and personal recognition that there is a Matzui Rishem Amtsikol. That there's a beginning, and that the beginning is not from him. And therefore he is pursuing to know that beginning. And there are different ways, like I said, Mitzad Kiruv or Mitzad Reimamus. So this Inyan of Ha'atzmus that he's pursuing is not because he identified such an Inyan of Ha'atzmus, but because it was provided for him. Because Atzmus is actually present in the world. What is the presence of Atzmus in the world? The Kavanah Elokis is in the shul. Okay, so now let's first so that we're going inside here. So this is what Rebbe says. That when the Rotzu is in fact to Atzmus, Ein Soif, Harishon Mushes Amitas HaKavon. This is what Amitas HaKavon is actually rooted. What's going on?
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to interrupt you before you go on. You just said, where's the Atzilus in the world? The Kavona Halyena is in the shoe. How does the answer the question?
Is there a fundamental value in there being a world?
That's called the Atzilus in the world?
It's a fundamental value without any explanations, because that's what that's what the Rebbe wants.
And you said that's in the shoe. In other words, that's what the world is here for, to be able to do the Eibishter's intention.
This is what the shuv. In the shuv, you recognize this. In the shuv, you recognize this. Ve'ilo mitzvahs is in the world. Rak except shetzorich liis lozeh habitul de hanochas atzmus. In order to appreciate and in order to relate to this kavona elyeino, there has to be the bitul hanochas atzmus, putting himself aside. Again, how does one relate to the senior of putting himself aside? The whole rotze is because I want something. If I'm putting myself aside, then I don't want anything. So we'll explain it. It's not true. The rotze does not begin from I want something. The rotze is beginning mitzad mermayla. There is a truth. It's given me a mile. And therefore, to fully recognize and fully appreciate the Rotzu, there has to be the Nifra Nochas Atzmus. Where is it all coming from? This is the principle that we constantly keep on repeating, that the initial impetus is the real koyach behind everything. Ultimately, this is where it ends up to. The initial impetus for the Rotzu is Milmailo, actually. And that's why there is it ultimately is Habitul Hanochas Atzmus. Because this is really part and parcel of the Rotzu.
If I put myself aside, then I have a sense of that initiation, that initial impetus. And without that, it's kind of...
This is what we're saying.
It's like the Rebbe Kiva, Nechos Shalom Yotze B'Shalom.
Right.
Initially, he didn't come inside his own thirst, but he started...
No.
Different concept?
No. It wasn't because of his own thing. That's the whole idea.
No, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't his own thirst.
That's right. Exactly.
It wasn't his own satiation.
That's right. Exactly.
We're in with the purpose of love.
And coming back to earth in our simple illustration of this principle, we have the host and the guest. And the host is providing the guest with a beautiful meal. What is the meal about? Is it the meal or is the host? And if you lose sight of the host and you become enticed by the meal, it's beautiful. It's a wonderful meal. But you lose the whole thing. Whereas if you recognize the presence of the host as the main thing, so you are nochas as musi. That's not for personal experience. It's something which elevates me to the host's level. It's a completely different thing. So the principle ultimately is the inhabit. V'chein. And then similarly, not that we've come, so to speak, not that we come to identify that where is Takidin Hashuv ultimately rooted is in the Beetle, Anochas Asmusim. Similarly, B'bchinas Hashuv, in between the Shuv itself. The Yiker Hashuv Hu Mitzad Hayiro. Where the principle of the shuv is because of yira. We spoke about before that in the shuv there are several different nuances, and one of them is that in the shuv there is the satisfaction, so to speak, Marabat Simoin. And here is where he finds Elokus in his own parameters, within his own domain, so to speak. Elokus came down to him. Marabat Simoin. The truth is that the Iker Hashuv is Misad Hayir. Iker Hashuv is not because, I'm hosting Elokus. On the contrary, it's Misad Hayir. It is due to the Yiro. What is the Yiro? Shehu habitul banafshe, which is the beetle within himself, in his nefesh. Machmas oitzem hashiflus lifnei oyeseibor. Because of the powerful of shiflus, smallness and lowliness in the presence of Ein Sof. And then in parentheses, Vehi bechinas Yiro pnimiyis. This is what's called the Yira Pnimis. Not Yira, an external Yira Zo'enesh, or Yira that brings to practical mitzvahs. Yira Pnimis, and a Yira that permeates entire mitzvahs of the person. Habo mitzad hakir de'en. And that Yira Pnimis is not just the recognition of one's own smallness. This Yira Pnimi is a real Pnimis, real Yira. Let's discuss this for a moment. One is called to make a public speech, and it is what's called a stage fright. That's a natural thing, stage fright. Stage fright can represent two quite different principles in a person. One is, how am I going to do? What are people going to say? Am I going to embarrass myself? Do I really have the ability to do this? This is an insignificant element. This element is actually reflective of the fact that he doesn't even know what he's going to do. He's preoccupied with himself. He's not doing it for the purpose of the accomplishment of the meaning of what he's going to do. He's presenting himself and making a good speech. That's not what it's about. The other Indian is that he is awed by the moment, by what he is trying, what needs to be accomplished, and he is awed by the significance of it, and he really feels inadequate to accomplish and to bring about, to arouse this point. Because to arouse this point, you have to be above it. You have to be into it 100% and be above it. And he doesn't. He feels that he has that spiritual quality. That's a completely different meaning from shiflus. That's a shiflus. That's called shiflus pnimis. It's not just plain sensing his personal limits. On the contrary, it's because of his insight, because of his intellectual understanding of what's going on, and appreciation the value of what he is going to do. This is where he is awed by the task at hand. This is called pnimis, not chitzonis. Chitzonis means how this is going to be, what the reflection is going to be, what the reaction is going to be. Pnimis means from a personal appreciation of what he is doing. So this is what he said, that this is the Iyar Pnimis. Haba mitzad hakiruv de'ein soif. The Iyar Pnimis comes because of kiruv de'ein soif, not because of distance. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just repeating words. No, he knows exactly what he is doing. And because he knows exactly what he is doing, he is awed by the task. Who am I to speak about the lakus and so forth? Leiber on Afshel. Which brings to saying to himself, Mi ani lo geshes al hakodesh. Who am I to step forward and approach holiness? The union of Rotzu means that he's approaching holiness. And appreciating, knowing what that holiness is, appreciating the union of Ayin. So he has a kiruv, he actually senses what this is that he's approaching. Then he says, Mi ani l'geshes al kodesh. Who am I to approach this? Leilach bigdeiles v'niflois. To go on a path of gdeiles, of greatness, and niflois, and supremacy. B'bchinas rotzu, in a rotzu manner of hiskalulus, to become incorporated in holiness. Where do I come to this? Mi ani. And that again that sense comes not due to fear for oneself, but it is because of appreciation of the greatness of the Elokus that he is pursuing. Amen. B'chinas rotzu v'hiskalulus.
Rabbi Paltiel?
Just 1 second, Baruch, I'm going to finish this. B'chinas rotzu v'hiskalulus means the following. And this is where the awesome reflection is. Rotzu v'hiskalulus does not mean he doesn't want to be. Rotzu v'hiskalulus means that he becomes incorporated and part of the Elokus. He becomes part of the Elokus means that he speaks like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu Shechina medaberes mitay groimi. He's not speaking. It's a Shechina that's speaking. If someone would say, "Hey, that's a wonderful state to be," I wonder the Shekhinah speaks with my mouth. If he knows what he's talking about, he'd cringe. And this is what the initial, the essence of Shuv is. Whether it should be his kalus in atzmus, his kalus in elokus, any kind of true godly presence in his nefesh brings out this sense. I'm only a nivra. I'm a creature. I'm a gashmizik. I'm here in the world. Elokus is not world. Where do I come to be nichlal in Elokus, which is not world? And that's why kiyim. So the only thing that he can actually acquiesce to and accept it and relate to, lekabel olav oy machoshamayim, to accept, to take upon himself oy machoshamayim. His best bet in relating to Elokus is lekabel olav machoshamayim bekim atero mitzvahs lamato, fulfilling the mitzvah lamato he below shezehu retzeni yizbor, because this is Hashem's will. So, what we're saying is that the shuv itself, within the shuv itself, there is also the beetle element. Both the beetle to recognize that the rotzu cannot reach the ultimate truth. It is only through relating to kavanot, and that can be inside a beetle. But in the shuv itself, it's also a different beetle. Baruch, your turn. I'm sorry I had to delay you.
That's okay. So, I'm not actually sure I understood what you just said, but this is a sequence then. In other words, this yira, the yira follows the ava. First there's the ava that leads to the rotzu, but then the response when he gets where he's going is yira.
Right. If we remember when we spoke about the initial union of the shuv, rotzu v'shuv, that in the rotzu he is not meravetz imoinoi. He doesn't find calm, he doesn't find satisfaction. And the dveikus in the lakus comes in the shuv. Because in the shuv there is a gilui lakus, that's how the Rebbe explained it over there. That in the gilui lakus begins to shashvat one after, then it settles his nefesh. So there it would seem in that shuv that seems to be something that so to speak makes sense. That this is that there is Maravet Simoina, he had the first for Elokus, and in the Rotzu, as we explained in the Rotzu, he doesn't have the Tzimoin. Tzimoin is satisfied only by a full-fledged presence, not by something that he identifies with his Seichel, as we discussed there. And this is why in Shuv, in doing Torah Mitzvahs, that's where he finds that the Eibusher is with him, and that's where he's Maravet Tzimoin. Now the Rebbe explains another notch in this whole thing. That's, as a matter of fact, it is not really just in order to be Meravet Simoina. The real in principal ingredient of Shuv is the beetle. In Meravet Simoina,
the real is the bittul and not the yira, in contrast to the yira.
No, that's yira.
Bittul is yira.
Not bittul is yira, but when you're saying I'm appreciating the presence of Elokus. Meravet Simoina, that's not bida. That's I'm appreciating the presence of Elokus.
In other words, there's an aspect of doing Torah and mitzvahs that's actually not bittul, but is actually appreciating this is where Hashem is.
Right. That's what he originally said. But now he comes back and he said that really the Yinhar Bitul and Nochadas Musa is the real principle in Shuv.
Even to Meravet Tzimoina?
Even Mitzad Meravet Tzimoina. In other words, he cannot be Meravet Tzimoina. What can he do? He can be Mekabel L'Machashamayim. Because who am I to have Elokus permeate my mitzvahs? At whatever level.
And this is an even higher level of relating to Kavonas Atzmus?
This is a higher level in the following sense. When is Meravet Simoinoi, he wants a Elokus. But the wanting it, the Seichel, he doesn't feel really, and he still here Tzimoin, as we said, it has to come like water flows still Milmaila, and this is what he wants. As long, here's the big principle that we've explained just now. As long as he senses that yes, Torah mitzvahs, I'm going to have a lakus, I'm going to be Meravet Simoina, I'm going to have a lakus mitzvah. What this actually means is that he doesn't know what he's talking about. If he really senses what a lakus is, then he would say, "Mi ani umani."
He'd forget his own thirst.
What?
He forgets his own thirst.
His own interest. Where do I come to it? This is Yira Pnimis. This is why this is higher, even though it's lower in terms of appreciation, but really it is higher. Now, it comes back in the form of Kabbalah Soyer. But the reason it comes back in the form of Kabbalah Soyer is due to the fact that he really knows what he's talking about.
In the Ratzah, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. In the Ratzah, he basically is seeking something, but he doesn't have a real sense of it. Only when he gets a real sense of it, then he gets the Yura.
In Rotzu, he knows what he's talking about in Seichel. This is different that we say all the time, Seichel and Midas. In Seichel, you know things, it's wonderful, but it's our arm's length. You don't really experience it. But when it comes down into actual relationship, into actual closeness, then he says, this is beyond the human reality.
So he starts getting that closeness within the Ratzah. That's what that means.
There are different states. For me, in the Ratzah, if it's Mitzad HaReimamus, or if it's just Mitzad HaKiruv, it is afterwards. It is in the Shul. It's in the Shul. When he says, okay, let me relate to Elokus Mitzad the Ratzah Mitzad what Elokus wants from me. And then he says, what? You can't relate to Elokus. The best you can do is do what the Rebbe says. Kabbalah said.
It's a fundamental, very fundamental question. For I understand what we're learning now is that the closer you get to Elokus, you realize you can't grasp it, and therefore the focus is what does Hashem want, which is the Torah mitzvahs. But even like this was a Pudei Torah, I understood is that a person can possibly, who has avoided, experience something which transcends him. However, he is experiencing. However, he has to bring down Torah and mitzvahs so that there's no unique Chatzonim, because it becomes integrated with who he is. And the same thing I'm saying with tefillah, Chabad, that you have different rungs of tefillah. You come to Atzilus where you're not thinking about yourself, you're totally subsumed in the godly experience. It's not as if that you come to realization as if you can possibly grasp godliness, and therefore what you have to just focus on Kabbalah's, what Hashem wants of me, but rather you can experience it. However, you have to realize in order to integrate that experience, you have to do Torah mitzvahs. So there seems to be like a little contradiction there. Here we're saying we can't fully experience it, and therefore come to realization that the only thing we can do is what God wants. However, in different parts of Chassidus, I understand, maybe it's my misunderstanding, that you can experience. However, in order to be integrated, you have to do Torah mitzvahs. Otherwise, you give you unique Chatzonim. That is my question.
And the two views, the two elements that you were talking about, one is about the Rotzu level and one is about the Shuv level. In the Rotzu, you're trying to grasp. And you realize you can't grasp. In the Shuv, you're not trying to grasp. In the Shuv, you're trying to integrate. And then you realize that you can't integrate. That's what the Rebbe is saying. The whole time you're pointing out that in the Rotzu, there's in Habitel. And that's what brings the Shuv. I was pointing out that even within the Shuv itself, the beetle is the ultimate element.
But you explain that in the Rotzui, we cannot realize in the Rotzui that we can't grasp it.
No, he does realize it.
Oh, they can't grasp it? That I cannot?
Yeah.
Right, I'm saying, but other places in Chassidut, it's mashma that a person, even this week's Kulti Torah, that a person can grasp it, he can experience it, but in order for this experience, where he's totally subsumed on the godliness, in order for it to not have unique Chatzonim, afterwards he has to have the shuv that starts with the kain and do Torah mitzvahs to integrate it. But it's mashma there that in the ruts you can experience it. However, this experience is something which transcends you. It's not. So therefore, you have to do Torah mitzvahs so that becomes.
Why is it a Nitzach?
Because it's not him.
It's a Nitzach because, as we explained before, because there you forget about where is the beginning.
But is he experiencing something?
You can experience it, but that's not that's not a truth.
Ah, good. Very good. Okay,
It's lacking the whole principle of the truth.
No, that's good. That's very good. It's like a thought. Good. That's not good. Okay, good.
What's this good? What's this last point?
Yeah,
That
it's almost like an illusion. That's not called experiencing without experience without truth. It's not experience.
This in the Ratzah, he realized that he can't grasp it, so that it leads to a shuv. By Roimamus, we said that that's not the case. He never gets the shuv unless he has this inherent. In other words, the Ratzah by itself would just keep going. Is that true? Is what we said before?
Right.
The Ratzah with the Chinas HaRoimamus, the Rebbe said that does not lead to shuv. Just left on its own devices, it would keep going.
Well, this is what the Rebbe explained now. That the only way, first he said, the only way that you can come to Shuv is to Kabbalah, is to be. Otherwise, you would, like you say, continue on going. But then he said, Be'emes, there is an element in the Rotzah that brings about the Shuv. Why? Because if he truly is focused on Atzmus Ein Sof, so Mushas Amitas HaKavanah. This is where the Amitas HaKavanah is rooted. This is what we took time to explain. They're very subtle things. We have to remember again, if in a human being in his nefesh has a drawing to Atzmus, where is it coming from? It's coming only because, not because he is such a pure thing, he wants Atzmus. Where is he going to get it from? It's because his beginning is in Atzmus.
because his beginning, it's not dissatisfaction with the world, it's not looking for something better, it's from above, it's from his origin is
The dissatisfaction with world is because he's got something that is not world. Why? Because his beginning is something which is higher than world. Has the whole thing is because there is a truth that is that initiated him, and he's seeking to reconnect to that truth. Otherwise, where does he come to that in the first place? So when he ultimately reaches into this in a true fashion, he relates to it not because I want, but because that's the truth. Then right away, then it comes to the Kabbalah. In what way? In what way is the Yehu Atzmus part of his mitzvahs, of the world? The Kabbalah. The world is a creation. In what way is the Yehu Atzmus in the world? Is that Kabbalah?
Personally, because Atzmus wanted him.
What?
His beginning, that Atzmus wanted that he should be.
That he should be mitzad vos, because mitzad kimatenu mitzvahs. This is what Chassidus explains, and we discuss it many times, that really this is like going back to one's source. And the source is in the Kavanah rather than in Atzmus, per se. And this is the pshat, and we explained recently many times. What? Amitis in Motzah, and kol double reaches the kiyumoy. Everything wants kiyumoy, and should not be completely mistranslated. The kiyumoy, he wants to be like the scientists say. Everything wants to its own security. That's not what the desire is. The desire is he should be what Hashem made him. Why does he want to be what Hashem made him? Because that's what the actually sense of the Kavanah Elokis. Then he's for real.
To be what Hashem made him is to be fulfilling the Kavanah Elokis.
Yeah. Hashem made him. and it made him to be able to fulfill these purposes, these functions. Okay. Okay, 2 lines from the bottom. So now we're talking, as I said, from both scores. Mitzad Rotzu, ultimately it is the beetle that wakes him up and gives him the full meaning in his avodah. And in the shuv, likewise, Mitzad the beetle. Because through the beetle, he actually relates to the truth of Elokus. Ve'ein kavono se b'shvil atzmei klal. His kavona, his intent in pursuing this, even Kabbalah say Machos Shemayim B'Kiyum Atira Mitzvos, it's not b'shvil atzmei klal. Ki yim l'kayim etzeni yizbore B'Kiyum Atira Mitzvos. It is only to fulfill the Ratzon Eliki, B'Kiyum Atira Mitzvos, to fulfill the Atira Mitzvos. How is this possible? Again, as we mentioned many times in these last weeks, this is possible because of the initial Rotzu. In the Rotzu, he realized, and there's only one interest that he has. And then there is a process of shuv. So all the reason that there is a shuv is because he cannot fulfill that interest. But he's identified the truth of that interest. That remains. And because that is his principal interest, therefore when he comes in shuv and he's doing Torah mitzvahs, it is not b'shvil atzmei, it is only the time that's in it. And what happens if he's doing the time of in his body? Then he actually realizes the presence of Asmos. Then then there is a reality right here in the world. Okay. Well, came, and similarly, likewise, what is his kavanah in the Indian, in the Kabbalah say? La says kei lilamato b'teiro mitzvahs, to provide a vessel, a means here below through teiro mitzvahs, liyas gilei in a seif lamato, so that there would be gilei akus here below. And why does he want Gilei Elkus here below? Shekar hu retzoyne yisboreh. Because in fact, this is the Rotzon Shalmayim. V'hu inyan leyachado kuchabrihu shchinti v'tachtein. This is the overall principle. Leyachado, to unite, kuchabrihu shchinti. The Kuchabrihu and his Shechina, which is Malchus, which is B'tachtonim. Below b'shvil atzmei klal. And it's not b'shvil atzmei klal. It's not for his personal interest and his personal satisfaction at all. All he wants, this is the emes, this is the true Iyar for Kabbalah Seir Machos Shemayim. Means that he recognizes the only thing that there is Elokus, and that's the only thing he is interested in. In and to fulfill Ratzon El. But b'shvil atzmei klal, there is not a personal interest, an interest from a personal perspective. There's an interest only inside the truth of Elokus, not inside a personal perspective. In other words, this is the Rotzu as reflected in the Shuv.
Can this question go back to line before? We were saying that in order to get to this shuv, it has to start with rotzu. This the idea of this rotzu precisely is to identify what uniquely that for the looking for the Eibishter alone. Like that's the principle of that rotzu. Is that what we said? That's what we said, that essentially the whole thing comes from Lamayla. Because where else such a pure rotzu would come to a person? Is that what it is?
That, yes, except that like this. In the rotzu itself, you don't really clearly sense that. Because in the rotzu he wants, and he knows what he wants. It's at koyah nefesh, this is the purity of nefesh, this is what I want, I cannot relate to anything else. In the rotzu, where do you see that clearly is in the shuv? This is where it is purely mitzad rotzu.
Well, I didn't understand what you said. This is the Ratzah reflected in the show. Like, what's the point that you're trying? What's the point that you're making there?
That he should want nothing for himself. Only the kind of change is going on. How did he get that the concept altogether?
Oh, in other words, the shuv is the bittul aspect of it, but where did he even get the impetus to, in the first place, to?
He's not interested in what he's getting in his personal experience and his personal benefit, not nothing.
But yet he has a desire to fulfill the kavanah.
Yes. How does he have that?
That's the Ratzah.
That's the purity of the Ratzah itself. Because in the Ratzah he identified that this is the only thing that's really worth pursuing.
And then he feels it not from his own, but he feels it because this is the kavanah from the Ma'ila. He's not in.
This is how the Ratzah is reflected in the shuv.
The Ratzu element was the identifying that interest.
Ratzu element, yes, is identifying what is worth pursuing. What is he?
Rabbi Paltiel?
Yeah.
This is how the Ratzah is reflected in the shuv, but this is the same thing as the Yira we were talking about before, or not?
Yeah, it is. Except the Yira is the shuv element. But
it sounds like what you're saying now, how can I fulfill this? This is in the shuv, whereas before we were saying in the Yira, the sense is, what am I talking about? How can I relate anyway to Elikus? Period. The end. We can't do anything except just be Makabel Malchus.
yeah, but then there is an additional notch in this. When he's Makabel or Machus Shomayim, this is what the Rebbe adds. Okay, he's Makabel or Machus Shomayim. So therefore, let's discuss this a little bit. Therefore, I'm besides the point completely. I'm like the horse that's saddled, and wherever the driver pulls the rein, that's where I go. But that's not what it is. He is Mekabel Machas Shomayim, and he wants to fulfill it. He is completely dedicated to do it in the right way because of Mekabel Machas Shomayim, but he has a desire to fulfill it. Now, as long as he has a desire to fulfill it, so he is not totally bottled to it. He is a mitzias. There's a personal interest. And that's what the Rebbe says at the end. No, he does not have a personal interest. He understands, he knows what he wants, but he wants it because that's what the Rotzen Ho'elin is.
That makes it different from the horse that's driven.
That's right. Let's understand them. These are actually quite, subtle inyanim. There is two expressions. Kirvas Elokim Toiv and Kirvas Elokim Li Toiv. Kirvas Elokim Toiv means that Kirvas Elokim is a good thing. Then there is Kirvas Elokim Li Toiv. Kirvas Elokim Toiv, generally speaking, this is the way it is in the Rotzu, the way it is in Seichel. Kirvas Elokim Li Toiv is the way it is in Midas.
This one? You said Midas. The Lito was what? I don't have the
Toiv.
sentence.
The way
Stam.
it is in middle.
Midas.
Kirvas Elokim Toiv means you just know that it's good. Kirvas Elokim Li Toiv is the way it is in Midas. It's a Li Toiv. The real Toiv, if it is to be in Midas, Midas is the way ultimately it has to permeate. Didn't I tell you I can't talk to you right now? So, Kivas Elokim Li Toiv, it's wonderful. But it has to be, if Kivas Elokim Li Toiv, only because I experience it, I appreciate it, so you're missing the whole point. Maybe, is it really good, or is it because you enjoy it? So first there has to be Kivas Elokim Toiv. And then if you bring this Kivas Elokim Toiv into Li Toiv, then it has significance. Then it's meaningful. And this is how it's reflected in a Midas. That it is Li Toiv, it permeates my whole mitzvahs in the shuv. But why? Because of the truth of it itself. This is why in Klal, in talking about, we could see Avodah, Rotzev, Shuv, the different madrigas. In Avodah, when one comes to when gets involved with the second pnimizik in Yonim, where there has to be a subtle combination of pnimius, meaning my personal experience, and pure truth, which is nothing to do with personal, which is beyond personal experience.
What happened to the shiftless?
The shiflus, as we explained, is also the result of personal experience. If there's a shiflus, and you said, if there is stage fright because you're afraid for yourself, that's insignificant.
I'm sorry, what did you just say? If what?
If you have stage fright because you're afraid how it's going to reflect on your reputation, then it's insignificant. Pnimis means you appreciate what you're doing. So, yes, there is shiflus, but the shiflus is also due to recognizing what Elokus is. Me, Ani should be able to approach his scholars with Elokus. That's significant. The Rebbe always says, the Rebbe Friedekem says, and the Alter Rebbe says, Vayin Tanya, Alter Hagdoma, that one should not take a stance of a nibus shal sheker, false humility. A nibus is wonderful. Moshe Rabbeinu is praised for being a nonov. He has to be a true Aniyus. Why is he a nonov? Because he is speaking Dvar Hashem.
So where's the line between Ava, Yira is the shiftless. Where's the line between Ava, the appreciation, and Yira?
There isn't.
There isn't in terms of what?
In terms of a living human being.
They're not the same thing.
But one is interrelated with the other. The real Yira, Yiras of Eimus, comes by recognizing the Eimus.
They're recognizing, sorry, I didn't hear again.
By recognizing the Eimus.
You were saying
That's why we say, Ratzu v'shuv. One follows the other on the constant pursuit.
You were saying before about when you're involved
That's
in
1 second. And in answer to you, there is no demarcation because the Rebbe said clearly, within the Ratzu there is Inyan Shuv, and within the Shuv there is Inyan Ratzu. Right in the beginning. Yes.
You were saying before about that when you're involved in Pneumius and Yanim, there's this combination of, on one hand it's Pneumius, your experience, on the other hand it's the truth of it. I'm just pointing you back. You didn't seem to finish that thought, or
No, I finished the thought because we spoke about it before. I'm just alluding to it. He has an internal, a deep recognition and appreciation of it, and because of that, he stays back.
So that he stays back.
Again, most important thing, and we'll finish with that. As we mentioned several times here, the famous Rambam. The first principle of all is that there is a first beginning. If one seeks to have the first beginning within his own pursuit, he is completely off track.
if one seeks to have the first being in
beginning, the beginning should be beginning from himself. That is. This is what Darwinism is. That beginning starts from monkeys.
He has yesh lo tchila. He has a tchila. He has to know that.
All right. This will be it for this morning. This is yours.
It's a little bit of a tangent, so I want to, interrupt
Sorry?
a little bit of a tangent, so I want to interrupt this question. Tell me if this is a truthful application of what we learned this morning.
Mikol